Welcome. My name's Elliott from Code Cognition. We're showing you this workflow that we developed for VA Disability Claims AI. This was a project that we put together pretty quickly. So the things that you'll need to be able to replicate this is SquareUp, Google Sheets, Google Docs, Google Forms, Zapier, and an OpenAI API key. So it's fairly easy. You do have to do a little bit of arranging some data, but overall, it's not a difficult project to duplicate. So let's start with the way the workflow works. So once you're on the website, the VA Disability Claims AI, this is a website that we developed to be able to help the veterans. I'm a veteran myself. I got a little bit lost in the disability claims process, so I thought this was a neat idea to start helping folks with their disability claims. So the idea here is that once you purchase this report, the report is going to send you a form. And so most people don't know what VA disabilities they may qualify for. So the idea is we use AI to help with putting a list together and take them through the process of the VA disability claims. So once they make the purchase, we're going to get a trigger, and I'm not going to go through this part of the workflow. This uses SendGrid, but you can use another type of email service. Zapier is awesome about using MailChimp and other email services. The trigger is going to be the Square new customer in Square. It's going to create a record in that table. And then there's a true or false field for order purchase and survey sent. And we're going to change those to true. And now we're going to send the email with the survey link. They're going to get this survey, which is pretty comprehensive, that we develop in Google Forms. So once, I'm not going to go through the whole survey because it does take you through a lot of medical questions. We are going to delete this data so we don't have to deal with HIPAA. And it happens automatically, which is really neat. Once the user completes the survey, they're going to get a copy of their survey through Google Forms. The responses are going to go into our view, into a Google Sheet spreadsheet, and that's going to set up another trigger and another Zap. And so now this Zap is where we're going to start our workflow to send to OpenAI so that the artificial intelligence can do its analysis. So we're going to select with we're going to continue with this selected record. Now, because we're testing this out, if I go on the actual sheet, you'll see that there's no records, because in the actual process, the record is going to be deleted. But in Zapier, because it's already been tested, we use test data for it. The test data stays in Zapier's memory. Okay, so we're going to continue with the selected record. And once the trigger is set, it's going to find a record in the Zapier table. Now in the previous workflow, we required that the order was purchased to be set to true. Once the email is found, we're gonna get many spreadsheet rows. So if we look at this step, how we separate the personal information from just the data is here in this in selecting the which columns are going to be sent to OpenAI. So the columns that we've selected are E through FE, and those are the columns that don't have the first name, the email address, and so none of that is going to the API. We're gonna just count one row, and the first row for the header. We're also gonna do the same thing for columns E through FE, but the first row is going to be row number 2, which is the row that we found from the header step. Now, one of the things that I found when sending the data to OpenAI is that ChatGPT got confused in analyzing the data because the survey is very in-depth, and so it creates a very large array. And the array for the header didn't match the array for the responses in length. So it was a different, there's semicolons and punctuation that confuses the AI. And if you think about what the neural net is doing, it has to create a function. So we're going to make it as easy as possible for the neural net to create its own functions. So in order to do that, we're gonna curate the data so that the length of both the header and the data array matches in length. So to do that, once we get the header row and the data row, we use Formatter by Zapier to begin to process that data. And so in there, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, about 10 steps so that we can curate the data. And the first part of it is to create a text data where there is a null. And so that way, the neural net can correlate that it wasn't exactly a null in that response, it was just not applicable. And it starts to, if this was the before, we're going to find a colon slash in the data in the raw rows. If you can see what it looks like here. And we're going to replace the colon or the comma with, we're going to replace the comma, semicolon. No, we're going to replace the comma and the quotation marks, and we're going to add text data. Okay, so when we continue that, it's going to process the output as such. Now we've added NA where there was null data. So we're going to continue to curate that data. So we have similar arrays that are going to be sent. So now we're going to find here at the beginning, we're going to replace that double bracket with a single bracket. And then the final format for the data row, and then we start working on the header row. We keep curating the data using Formatter by Zapier until we have pretty clean arrays on both the header and the data row. Okay, so the output will look as such. The most important thing about it is, again, both arrays have the same length of data for the header and the data row. you can see it's a pretty complex survey with lots and lots of data that it's going to have to process. So let's see how that's going to work out. I use a Python function just to create a conversation ID so that the OpenAI assistant that I created for this can keep track of the conversation. The thing about this Python code, and I was just trying it out to see how it works, is that it doesn't really run complex functions. I don't know why that is. I tried using this Python compiler to clean up the data, but it didn't work, and I'm not sure why this is not a regular compiler, Python compiler. But it did work to create a conversation ID. So now that we have this data, we're going to start our conversation with the assistant. So we have a little prompt engineering here happening. So we're going to ask it to read the survey. These are the questions, and these are the answers to those questions. And this is why you want to make sure that both of these arrays align. If you're able to read, just say success, and I will tell you what to do next. So let's test this out. We're going to continue, and we're going to test it live here. Oh, sorry. Let's go back. Continue, continue, continue. We're gonna test this live. Okay, so now conversation was sent to ChatGPT about 1 second ago. We're gonna continue this conversation now with ChatGPT. Now, let's see what the result was here. Action, the test. About 29 seconds ago, we got the result that this is the instructions for the assistant. We got the result in full response success. Okay. So now continue. A little bit more prompt engineering here. We're going to process each symptom for mention and aggregate of their frequency and severity based on the answers. We don't want it to output this. We're going to focus on a higher severity response. And here's where we start to put together the report. I'm going to show you what that report looks like here in just a second. We have the conversation ID from the Python function that we made earlier. So let's retest that step. We're going to retest. And while that's happening, we're going to look at what the docs. This is the template doc for the AI report. And so this, where we're going to feed it information from Zapier, we're using curly brackets for the template. So again, some curly brackets, we wanted to put in the current date, data from Zapier. We want to make it personalized. Here, we're going to get general summary from the AI. And again, right now we're using OpenAI. It's ChatGPT 4. So a double or curly brackets where we're going to feed some data. We're going to do an AI prediction. And we're going to write in potential rated disabilities. Okay, and that's what the report is going to look like. So we're going to go back to Zapier here. So about 1 minute ago, we got a response And let's see what the response is. Full response, you face significant challenges, notably. So this is pretty good. This is a general summary of what the survey conditions are. Okay. The wording guidance. This is the guidance that the user can use to submit their disability claim. So we're going to ask it as if you were the patient. The theme for the summary is why you are seeking help from the VA. Okay. So a little bit more prompt engineering there. We're going to test this step out. We're going to retest it. Okay, so now our conversation was sent about 1 second ago. So we're going to get a full response here. Response parts. It's a fairly long response. It's sending the response as a first person to us, which is what we asked it to do. So now we're going to test this step out, which is from this data, we're going to ask it to analyze based on the action. Based on the survey, we're going to create a list named potential disabilities. Okay, and we're going to ask it to format it in a specific way on the output. So and so here we give it an example: potential disabilities, insomnia. This is what we would like the output to be, and just a little bit of testing when we're writing this report, and what we thought was a good feedback loop for the AI. So we're going to test this step out, retest it, see if it's still working properly. Okay, so our conversation was sent to ChatGPT about a second ago. We got a response. And so here's our full response that it's formatted as we asked it to. Asthma, sinusitis. Okay. So these are potential disabilities that the user qualifies for based on the survey. Okay. So now we're gonna we got all the data that we want from OpenAI, and now we're gonna start formatting the data. We're using Formatter by Zapier, and the action we wanted to we're the timestamp that we got from the survey that we're using in the Python function to create an ID. We're gonna format it so that it looks good on the report we're gonna send out. So that's fairly easy. We're going to ask ChatGPT to do one more thing, which is to consider the survey responses on their expedited claim and make a prediction as likely or not likely to qualify for an expedited claim. So we're going to ask it to, we're going to send, we're using the same conversation. We're in the same conversation still using the conversation ID. So we're going to retest that data. Or we're going to retest that step. Okay, so we got results about 16 seconds ago. It says based on the information that you provided on the survey, it's actually so it doesn't answer the same way sometimes. We're like I didn't just get a yes or no. This time it looks like it gave us our responses, which is pretty interesting. Anyway, but the prediction is not likely for expedited claim. So now we're going to start to format our Google Doc to send a report. So in order to do that, we're gonna our app event is we're gonna create a document from template. the action, and where we had curly brackets. So for example, here we have current date. Those curly brackets are now have become like input data. For nickname, where we had nickname in the curly brackets, right here. We can fill in data there, which is first name here. So now remember that the data that we sent to OpenAI didn't have personal data, but we do have personal data on our sheet here. I don't actually have data right now because that data is automatically deleted in the Zap. But this is leftover data when we were testing the Zap. So the nickname is from Google Docs. The general summary. So that was the full response in step 15. Okay, the wording guidance. That was from step 16. And potential disabilities from step 17. I just went back and renamed them because it made it easier to keep track of what was happening. So let me see, step 19. So if we test this now, it's going to create a document from that template. So now that that document is created, what we're going to do is we're going to send an email. And in order to send that as an email, now that we've created the document from that template, what we actually want to do is we're going to export the link as a PDF. So that's available. That action is available once you create the document. Created an HTML email. And you can use any online editor to check it. And so it's not showing the actual name here, but if once we send that email out, it will send it with the name. Now we go to our email, we can see that the email came through. Pretty clean, very nice. And so now it's gonna update the record. The action that we want to do is we're gonna change that the AI report was sent. We're going to send that to true. And then the last step is we're going to delete the data row for where we got the response. And so now we don't keep any of that data. The next time the Zap runs, it'll do the same thing. So I hope it works out for you. If you got any projects that you want to share, comment below. That's the whole workflow. Took a bit to get it going properly, but it works great. And I think it's not super complicated where it's very reproducible. Zapier made it fairly simple to run this process with very little coding, a little bit of coding, not too much. But I think it's very reproducible, and I'm sure there's many applications that can use a workflow like this. So if you have any ideas of where something like this would be practical, let us know in the comment. Thank you. Have a good day and good life.